After the confrontation. After the chaos.
The ayes are 50, the nays are 48.
After all the acrimony, Brett Kavanaugh is confirmed. Has this latest addition to our highest court only deepened the national divide? And will Kavanaugh be the conservative vote that turns back a full slate of progressive standards? A month out from the midterm, and Senator Ted Cruz hits the Texas trail with Donald Jr. With the president soon to follow, can Team Trump be the difference maker in the tightly contested battle with Beto O'Rourke? Here at home, firefighters' bold bid to bypass City Hall for higher pay takes center stage. Will voters heed the mayor's urgent financial alarm or grant a major salary boost by referendum? I'm Greg Rugen, and welcome to Watch Your Point, where our panelists call it like they see it. Let's greet them. Starting us off, Republican strategist Jessica Colon. Next up, progressive commentator and attorney Nyanza Moore. In the 3 spot, Bob Price, associate editor of Breitbart, Texas. Batting cleanup, longtime super neighborhood leader Tomaro Bell. Next up, businessman, columnist, and former Kemah mayor Bill King. And closing us out on the hot corner, Chicano activist and educator Tony Diaz. Let's get going. By one of the narrowest margins in American history, the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court has been confirmed by the United States Senate. The final vote followed 2 riveting weeks gushing with accusation and partisan acrimony. Launched as they were at the latest possible moment, allegations of sexual misconduct in Kavanaugh's teens and young adulthood fell short of the corroboration necessary to derail the nomination.
And I want to thank our incredible Republican senators for refusing to back down in the face of the Democrats' shameless campaign of political and personal destruction. Brett Kavanaugh is a man of great character and intellect. He's a totally brilliant scholar who has devoted his life to the law.
Is pretty much to say that survivors don't matter, women don't matter, and that people who are in the situation that Dr. Ford is in don't matter.
I think it's more of a problem that he's not being honest about it, and that he has so much anger and hatred in his voice.
While Kavanaugh's seat on the high court has been secured, his once sterling reputation has been reduced to rubble, with many convinced he was once a violent, drunken sexual predator, and others equally certain his angry Capitol Hill defense revealed deeply partisan loyalties and a temperament ill-suited for the likely swing vote on the nation's highest court. With that, we start our discussion. I'm going to go to Jessica Colon. I'm assuming that you're very pleased.
This was obviously a monumental week, and the president had one of his best weeks of his entire presidency this week. When you look at unemployment, when you look at the new Mexico-Canada-U.S. deal, and now when you look at the confirmation of and swearing in of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. You know, my dad always told me something. He said, "Jess, don't overdo it." And the Democrats overdid it this week. They've overplayed their hand, and they're going to continue to overplay their hand. They are looking to take this now, this hatred and this vitriol that we saw, and they're looking to take it now into early voting and election day. Nancy Pelosi is saying she's going to FOIA the FBI report. And you know what? I hope she does, because I think it only, and everything we've heard, it only solidifies Justice Kavanaugh's case in this, during these hearings from what we saw. But what we also heard from the American people is that due process matters. We have a process here in the United States called innocent until proven guilty. And Americans don't like that baseless allegations and accusations can suddenly overtake and completely uproot and overturn their entire family system and their family economy. And that is scaring more people to the polls to vote for Republicans this election.
Well, what about Democrats? Tony, does the Kavanaugh confirmation stir up Democratic turnout?
Well, that's the only way that we can get a balance of power back into government, is if women are angry enough, are tired of systematic oppression enough to say that we can't tolerate how a single party rule is shaping the lives of women, and minorities, intellectuals for generations. So, you know, you had the United Nations laughing at the president. I think, unfortunately, the entire world might be laughing at us now because our White House is suspect, our elections are suspect, our Supreme Court, I've heard some people calling it Supremacist Court. And here's the problem. We've also revealed and exposed the myth that the Supreme Court is supposed to be nonpartisan. This was all about Republicans against Democrats, and they did not hide how they will vote. So it surely means Roe versus Wade will be overturned. For those of us who got through college because of affirmative action, those days are over. You owe it to your community to get very involved. I'm going to be even more involved now because there's only one way for us to save democracy. That's to vote out this block of Republicans that said they would ram through this kangaroo court and did so. Likewise, they will ram through many unfair laws, and they will not be looking for justice. It's the only one way to overcome this kangaroo court is to vote them out.
Bob Price, what I just heard there was an accusation that Brett Kavanaugh will be an activist judge that Republicans say we cannot have, that they should be interpreting the law only. What say you?
Well, I think it's funny that Democrats are now crying about activist judges, but Justice Kavanaugh will not be an activist jurist on the Supreme Court. He is a constitutional conservative, not a legislative conservative, but loyal to the meaning of the Constitution as it was written by our founding fathers. I want to congratulate the Democrats. They succeeded in several good things here. By using two rules set forward by Harry Reid and by Joe Biden, we now have two conservative jurists on the Supreme Court. They've succeeded in uniting the Bush faction and the Trump faction of the Republican Party in a way that no one dreamed possible 6 months ago. Women are angry, Tony. Women are angry at the unfairness of this process. They are angry at the fact that we tried to undo the due process of law in this country where a person is innocent until proven guilty. There was a basic unfairness in this whole process. The Democrats outed a woman who did not want her name revealed to the public. They held her information to a point where it became obvious that the Democrats were using it as a political ploy and not trying to stand up for the rights of a woman who believed that she had been harmed many, many years ago. Other women came out and also attacked her credibility, and the Democrats, a Democrat lawyer running for president, used the opportunity to exploit this woman, to damage the credibility of this woman, to advance his own political career.
Real quick, 30 seconds tomorrow. Does this increase turnout for either side?
I definitely believe it increases turnout for the Democratic side, and especially women. And for a man to say that women fought about that, that's not why women were upset. I heard from different women talking about, my God, you know, this happened to my cousin, this happened to my sister, this happened to me. And they're not pissed because of the lady coming forth. They pissed that Kavanaugh got sworn in.
Okay. Bill King, you watch this, and we're going to let Nyanza close.
So there are a couple things about it. Number one, I think that you'll see the Supreme Court not do anything very controversial, at least through the 2020 elections. Historically, when the court's kind of gotten in trouble like it is right now, it's sort of pulled back. So I think you're going to see the court not taking a lot of controversial cases, at least through the 2020 elections. You know, I think it'll be interesting to see which side this helps. I think Jessica's right. I think the Democrats did overplay their hand last week, and the polling certainly indicates that as it tracked through the week. But, you know, the thing that motivates people to go vote more than anything else is being angry. And so the left and the Democrats are angry over this. I think I could see the Republicans having sort of a letdown. You know, we won this, we're kind of high-fiving, and that's not something that goes out and motivates you to vote. Being angry does. My guess at the end of the day, it hurts the Democrats, but it'll be interesting to see.
Nyanza, close us out here.
I don't understand why, if you're looking at the picture of Brett Kavanaugh with his two daughters and his wife there, why he doesn't think that one day it will come back on him if his daughter makes their own complaint. In 1973, the Republicans wrote into law abortion rights. Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. He was the first state to say abortion is a right for all women to have. It was a Republican right that they gave to us. And why did the Republican men in the Senate Judiciary use women against other women? That's just like telling a field slave to whip other field slaves to be able to get what the master wants. So when you use a woman, Senator Collins, to go up there when you don't even have a voice on the Senate Judiciary, to go ahead and reverse the rights of other women, to be the right to be heard. Let's talk about due process. Anita Hill got a 3-day investigation by the FBI. This was a sham of a 7-day investigation where the White House was playing the Senate Judiciary like they wanted to. Let's talk about what Brett Kavanaugh did. What he did was show that he does not have the judicial temperament. What he did show was that he is a liar. What he did show is that he can go ahead and have anybody move out of town so they can't be questioned. What it showed American women was this. I'm sorry, Bob, the last time you had a vagina, I wasn't notified. But in this day and age, you cannot speak for all women when you say that women were angry because they were mad that due process was not served for a man. That's what men like to say. And all of the men on the Senate Judiciary, those women on the Republican side, shame on you. Those women on the Democratic side, it is your turn, and November is coming. And with my daughter who is sitting in this studio today, know this. Your voice will be heard. And whether or not the women out here right now who are fighting for your rights, and let me just tell you something, black women, you did go out there and vote. 98% of you with college degrees voted for Hillary Clinton. The white educated women did not vote for Hillary Clinton. They voted for Donald Trump. And guess what? The uneducated white men that did not go to college voted for Donald Trump. They wanted abortion rights to be taken away. And I don't know any woman who would ever stand to fight for their rights and then vow to get them taken away. You should fight for all women's rights. Your daughters are watching you, Republican women.
Gotta leave it there. Up next, as firefighters bypass City Hall and ask voters for a big raise, the mayor goes head-to-head with the union chief leading the battle. Highlights and analysis when we return.